Welcome to Functional Philosophy. I'm Charles Tew. That's T as in Tango, E as in Echo, and W as in Whiskey. This is episode number 32, and its title is How to Think About the Universe. Hello everyone. Today I am going to discuss everything. Everything as such. The entire universe. How should you think about it? Now, this is an important issue, despite the attitude I frequently encounter, even among objectivists. Knowing the foundation of everything is, well, it's self-evidently important. It's the foundation of everything. Now, I find that objectivists tend to accept certain parts of the philosophy tentatively, because the whole thing is so valuable that the parts that don't make sense, they realize are intimately connected to everything else, and so they say, well, I don't really understand free will. I don't really understand how the universe can be eternal yet not infinite, but the whole philosophy is so valuable, it's so orienting, it's been such a benefit to my life, I'll just accept it. Part of the value of this show is to help you get solid on those things you're accepting only tentatively. So let's talk about the universe. It's one of the hardest things for people to wrap their minds around. Metaphysics in general, people find very difficult. Okay, so the first thing to note when talking about the universe is that it is all there is. Look at the image I am using for this podcast episode. Now, why did I choose that? Why did I choose that over, say, an artist's rendition of the universe as a ball? Or, that cylindrical thing? That thing that's supposed to represent the universe? That they always use? That shows the Big Bang and how space allegedly expanded. Why didn't I use that? Because there is no external perspective on the universe. There is only the universe. You can only see it from the inside. So I want to impress that upon you with that image, and it's the first thing to recognize. There is nothing outside of the universe. You cannot think about it from an external perspective. Even saying inside the universe is misleading. The universe is not a shell that contains everything. The universe simply is all of the entities that exist. That's it. Okay, the next thing to understand is that the universe is all there is. This is connected to the point I just made, but that's the thing about metaphysics. Everything is so tightly interconnected. It's basically the whole field of metaphysics is just corollaries of self-evidencies. So the next point is, there is no such thing as empty space. There is no nothing. Parmenides was the first to identify this fact. There is no such thing as nothing. The universe is all there is. There's nothing outside the universe. There are no gaps inside, quote-unquote, the universe. The universe is solidly packed. The philosophical term for this is the plenum. Plenum. That just means solidly packed. No empty space, no void. Now, Parmenides identified this and then went on to make some absurd, irrational inferences from this, but we can ignore those. All that exists is existence. There is no nothing. Nothing outside the universe, no gaps within the universe. Solidly packed. There's stuff everywhere. In just the same way that between you and a TV screen there's air, even though you don't see it, there's stuff between galaxies, even though you don't see it. It just looks like emptiness. There's stuff there. It's called the ether. We don't know what it is, but there's something there because there's no such thing as nothing. In fact, gravity and a lot of physics makes a lot more sense once you adopt this premise, which has been totally rejected by modern science, but is nevertheless true. So the universe is a plenum. Now, what you have to do is adopt the Aristotelian way of looking at things, not the Platonic way. Most people think in Platonic terms here. Probably even you subconsciously, although maybe not, but probably, in my experience. Most people think like Plato. There is space out there. Space is nothing, a void. It is a cosmic receptacle into which you put things. The atomists in ancient Greece thought this. There had to be nothing, because where would things go if there weren't a nothing to put them in? That is that is so wrong. That is precisely the opposite of the truth. You have to understand this in Aristotelian terms. You have to get this shift in perspective. And Aristotle realized, no. It's not space and then you put things in it. There are things, and then space is just a relationship between things. That's how this works. There really is no such thing as space. Contrary to what physicists say, it's not a thing that can have effects. It's just a relationship among things. Things are primary, and space is just a relational concept. It doesn't exist and then you put things in it. Now, people think the universe can be infinite because, well, what's the limitation on nothingness? There's just the infinite void and then things in it. No. There are only things. There is no space as such. Okay. So we have a solidly packed universe, no nothing. There is only an internal perspective, and space is not something in which things exist. Okay. Now, we get to the question of, is the universe infinite, spatially or temporally? Does it go on forever? Was there any beginning point, or does it stretch infinitely backwards? Will it stretch infinitely into the future? Are there boundaries to the universe, or does it just go on forever? Well, one view here is that neither of these things can possibly be true. They say, well, the universe can't be infinite. That's incoherent. To exist is to have identity. There's no such thing as an actual infinite anything. I mean, being truly unlimited in actuality is incoherent. I mean, it just boggles your mind. You can't even conceive of infinite. That's because it can't exist. Because to be is to be something in particular. This, not that. To have a specific size, a specific amount of time. So, to be infinite is not to exist. So the universe can't be infinite. On the other hand, it can't be finite either. Because then we have to say the universe had to begin at some time. And then what? God did it? Or it sprang up out of nothing? Neither of those are satisfactory. And then what about the edge of the universe? Does the universe have a boundary? How can the universe have a boundary? There's nothing out there to bind it. So the universe, by implication, it can't be finite, but it can't be infinite. Now this is actually one of Kant's antinomies. Antinomies are pairs of logically necessary, yet contradictory conclusions. Kant had 4 of them, and the whole purpose of these was to show that true reality transcends mere logic. Look, by logic, you have to infer that the universe is both finite and infinite. Or rather, what he really meant was it can't be finite and it can't be infinite. So this whole idea of A or non-A, this whole idea of non-contradiction, this whole idea of logic, that is just our way of thinking. Obviously, true reality transcends our mere human logic. Therefore, we can believe in God and free will and all this other stuff that he thought was irrational. Because logic doesn't bind real reality. Reality is neither finite nor infinite. That's just a product of our limited way of thinking on the basis of non-contradiction. Ugh. How unsophisticated to think that contradictions can't exist. You know, I've heard Gavin McInnes use an argument suspiciously similar. He says, well, the universe has to be infinite, but we know that the effects of infinitude are incoherent. What, there's a planet with all rowdy Roddy Pipers running around? The whole planet just has this wrestler that's the only person who exists? Well, if the universe is infinite, every possibility has to exist. But we know that doesn't make sense. He doesn't explain how we know that doesn't make sense, but he just says we don't. So it has to be this way. It can't be this way. Well, he says that's God leaving a calling card. So, these abstract ideas, they have effects. These are why people believe in God. If I can't understand the basis of the universe, that's a pretty good indication maybe logic really is limited. Maybe what really matters truly does transcend my small human life. I'm just this limited organism on this planet in a backwater solar system. Who knows where in the universe? If I can't even wrap my mind around the nature of existence as such, maybe there is really more going on than reason will allow me to grasp. This is what gives religion and all kinds of mysticism and irrationality its plausibility. If the basic nature of everything doesn't seem like it can be accounted for by logic, by reason, then maybe what's most important can't be accounted for by reason and logic either. So this is a very important issue. Now, the truth is, the universe is finite, spatially and temporally. Everything in the universe, or all of the things that constitute the universe, rather, are finite. Every individual thing is finite. Every entity is finite, and the universe is made up of nothing but entities. Therefore, the universe as a whole is finite. In fact, Ayn Rand says exactly this. She says you can ascribe to the universe what you can ascribe to everything that exists by the fact that it exists. So if everything in the universe is finite, the universe as a whole must be finite. But, she says, you cannot, quote, ascribe space or time to the universe, unquote. She says this in the appendix to the revised edition of Introduction to Objectivist Epistemology. This is from her epistemology workshops. Now, I think this passage has been tremendously misunderstood by many objectivists. What I'm about to explain is, I believe, what she meant, and I believe what's true, so these are the same things here. What she is saying is that the universe does not exist in space or time. That is not the same thing as saying that the universe has no age or size, that the concept of age or size do not apply to the universe. That is not the same thing. And I've seen people they treat these things as interchangeable. They are not interchangeable. These are two completely different ideas. The universe is finite, which means it has an age and a size. That does not mean that it exists in space or time. When we say it doesn't exist in space or time, what we mean is there's no such thing as 5 minutes before the universe. And there's no such thing as 5 miles away from the universe. All time exists in the universe. Time is a measurement of motion. There is no motion except of things that exist. And all things that exist are in the universe. The universe is not in time. Time is in the universe. Same thing with space. The universe does not exist at any location. All locations are in the universe. See, these concepts are necessarily externally relational. To say that something takes place in time implies time outside of the thing. To say that it takes place in space implies a relationship to something else at another location. So let's take a stick. You can say the stick began to exist because it fell off the tree at 5 p.m. and then somebody snapped it in half at 7 p.m. So the stick existed for 2 hours. Now this implies time before and after the stick. And you can say, well, the stick is 5 feet away from the tree. That's where it fell off. You can only say that because there is something external to the stick, the tree, that it is in relation to. Since there is nothing outside of the universe cannot take place in time or space. These concepts do not apply to the universe as a whole. That is not the same as age and size. If you take a stick, You can measure the size of a stick in a totally internal way. You can take 1/5 of the stick, use that as your standard of measurement, and then say that this stick is 5 times 1/5 of the length of the stick. In fact, whatever standard of measurement you use, you had to get from something, and then abstract it out. So you're always saying that, well, 5 inches is just 5 times 1 inch. And the same is true with time. You do the rotation of the Earth, or its motion, its orbit around the sun. That is an internal concept. We apply time to Earth on the basis of Earth's motion. So there's no implication of anything outside of the universe with age or size. If you take length here as one dimension of size, so the length of the stick can be measured by reference to nothing other than the stick itself. In the same way, determining the size or age of the universe can be done without reference to anything outside of the universe, which you can't do because there is nothing outside of the universe, which is why you can't apply space or time to the universe. So since everything in the universe has a size, then the size of the universe is just the sum of the sizes of all the things that constitute the universe. And the age of the universe is just the age of everything in the universe. Now, if you want to ask, what about the boundary issue then? What happens if you go to the edge of the universe? And what about the beginning of the universe? Doesn't the universe have to begin if it's not infinite? And will the universe have to wink out of existence at some point in order not to violate the rule of existence, which is identity, or not infinity? No. Now, as for the edge of the universe, this is a physics question. I don't know what the law is, but there must be some law that says that you can't go out of the universe and leave a gap in existence. That's incoherent. Now, what you would see if you went to the edge, if you were the outermost thing in the universe, I assume you would see nothing. Just like if you have no eyes, you see nothing. You don't even see black. You just don't see. That's what I assume it would be like. All you can say philosophically is, there's no such thing as going outside the universe. What specific form that takes in the realm of physics, I don't know, but you don't need to know that. Now, as for the beginning of the universe, no, there's no beginning. There's no such thing as before the universe. You don't have to explain how the universe came from nothing, because there is no nothing. There was nothing before the universe. This question is incoherent. You say, well, the universe had to come from God. No, it didn't come from God. Oh, so then it came from nothing? This is what the new atheists try to explain, and they actually claim it did come from nothing. And I don't care if they say, oh, well, we don't really mean nothing. Well, then don't say that. That is what they mean. No, saying that the universe only goes so far back in time, as it must, in order not to be infinite, there's no need to explain that. The universe didn't begin to exist. It simply extends back only a certain amount of time. It never began. It is all there is. It's not like there was a 5 minutes before the universe when there was nothing, and then something came out of nowhere. No, there is no nothing, there is no nowhere. There is only existence, and existence is only so old. Period. The end. Now, as for the future of the universe can go on forever. It never has to stop, because however old it is, it will only ever be as old as it is, even if it lasts a quadrillion, trillion, whatever years. You're never going to get to quadrillion and 1, quadrillion and 2, infinite. No, there is no such thing as infinite. So the universe can go on forever, because it will never be at an actually indefinite state. It will only ever be as old as it is. It will only ever have spanned a finite amount of time. So, I think I have addressed all of the basic problems people have with the universe. People find it hard to wrap their minds around this, but it's important because you have to have the confidence that your mind is capable of grasping the basic nature of existence. If you don't have that confidence, well, you can't really have confidence in anything, because metaphysics, the nature of the universe, is the foundation of everything else. If you think that the basic nature of reality is something that just eludes reason's grasp, you're always going to have this nagging uncertainty in the background. So I hope this episode has made it clear how you can understand the universe, how to think about it, how its existence does not violate logic or anything else. It's amazing how many people accept the infinity of the universe. And they say, well, that's just something our minds can't grasp. No. Your mind can't grasp it because it doesn't make any sense. You're talking about a contradiction, implicitly. There is no external perspective to the universe. There is no nothing. There is only the universe. There's no outside the universe. There are no gaps within the universe. The universe is solidly packed, and it is finite spatially and temporally. It does not exist in space. It does not exist in time. It has an age, although we don't necessarily know what it is. I'm skeptical of the Big Bang. We know it has a size, although we don't know what that is either. It extends backwards in time only so far. It will extend forward in time forever. And as to the spatial boundary of the universe, we simply know that there is no such thing as going beyond the universe. What form that takes, that's a scientific question. But that question really shouldn't trouble you that much, because it's like saying, well, how do we know that everything we're ever going to see will accord with the law of identity? Well, you may find new laws of physics or new kinds of entities, but if you have no trouble grasping that whatever you see will be what it is, you should have no trouble grasping that, oh, there's no such thing as going outside of the universe, even though I don't know specifically how that is. So there you go. That's how to think about the universe. If you have any questions, you can send me an email at charles.a.2@gmail.com. You can also visit my website at charlestew.com. There you can find information on and links to all my work, including ways to support it. You can also just leave comments on YouTube or wherever, and I will look at those and answer any questions if there are good ones. If you do want to give me more time to create content like this, you can kick me a few bucks on Patreon. That is always appreciated. In any case, thanks for listening. Let's meet again in episode 33.